Up at the top, though, which team do you think represents the biggest threat to Bayern? Themselves?
I still think Leipzig. They've looked very good under Marco Rose. They have the best, I think, depth aside from Bayern and Dortmund. I mean, Dortmund have now, with everyone fit, a ridiculous squad, but maybe not quite as... They don't quite have the same peaks, let's say. And if Leipzig can stay in the hunt and within distance of Bayern until Christopher Nkunku comes back, because he's not even there at the moment, and Dani Olmo also only got injured, unfortunately, then I think they have a really realistic chance of doing it this year.
Good Lord.
But of course, we will always look at Bayern and think they are, as you said, their own worst enemy, and if they only play to the normal levels, everyone shouldn't really stand a chance. But there is, I think, increasingly a perception that yes, Bayern have problems and they're not playing well, but in the past maybe that wouldn't have mattered so much. It looks as if the Bundesliga is just a little bit better maybe this year, and you just can't get away with weak performances as much as you used to in the past.
Is there a case that before, when there was a bit of a title race, it was only Bayern and one club, whoever that was? Now that there's Bayern and 4 different clubs, whether they can stay there or not, increases the pressure because it's less pressure on I mean, the pressure is divided in 4 for the others instead of all being in whoever is second, Dortmund or Leipzig or...
It's a great point, Jules, because in the past, clubs have almost been afraid of being seen as the challenger, because once you talk about that and once you say, okay, yes, we are trying to win, then people say, ha, you once again fell short. And that situation doesn't really arise at the moment. I think Dortmund, because of their stature, because they're the last team to win the Bundesliga, not named Bayern, will eventually have to accept that they are in a title race. And for their sake and for the league's sake, you hope that their good run continues, because I think it's good for everyone, including maybe even Bayern, who get pushed just a little bit harder than usual.
3 1-1 draws in a row. How much does João Cancelo affect things there?
Well, they hope that he can bring a bit of dynamism and ability on the fullback positions. They are problematic because of the injuries. Even when everyone's fit, I think Nagelsmann wants more of a playing fullback. I mean, Mazraoui is that kind of player. He's very good with progressing the ball and picking up the ball in good places. But Cancelo, at his very best, is probably one of the best 5 fullbacks in the world on either side. And they haven't had, at least on paper, a player this good, I guess, since Philipp Lahm retired. So it could be absolutely huge, because this position has been a problem for Bayern now for a long time.
Who are the other top 5? Who are the other 4 top 5 fullbacks in the world, would you say?
Trent Alexander-Arnold.
Trent's in there?
Yeah.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Kyle Walker for me.
Kyle Walker, really? Yeah. Okay, yep. That's 2.
Reece James.
We got João Cancelo.
Reece James.
Reece James,
Definitely, yeah.
So only one space left.
In Italy, they would say Theo Hernandez.
Right.
No, but that's a left back.
Yeah, but
we're talking about
saying
any
either
fullback
side.
is fine.
Any.
Hakimi as well.
Yeah,
Hakimi,
Alfonso
Alphonso Davies.
Right. Really? Still? Yeah. Potentially.
He's not having a great season, but he could and should be.
He must be 23 max.
He's still very young.
He's very young.
The only thing is, if you play Joao Cancelo on one side and Alfonso on the other side, not really sure who defends, to be fair. Against PSG or against another team, it doesn't matter. And Upamecano and De Ligt, or Upamecano and Theo and Lucas, are very proactive centre-backs as well. So, I mean, defensively, they will have to just find the right balance.
Yeah, it's true. And that's been a bit of a problem. But what's more worrying for Bayern is that, unlike the crisis they had in September, when they also had 4 games without a win in the league, they don't create a lot of chances. Back then, you remember, it was all about, Lewandowski would be putting this away and, lack of efficiency up front. Now, they play and you don't really get the sense that they will inevitably score. There's just not a lot happening. And it's puzzling how a team that looked so good before the winter break has looked so ordinary. Oliver Kahn was making the connection that this is a little bit World Cup related. Just how we're not sure, because there isn't really an easy explanation. But he said, I remember seeing a Bayern team before the World Cup, and now we're seeing a different Bayern team after the World Cup. So I guess the inference is that confidence has played a role. Injuries, of course, picked up during the World Cup. Manuel Neuer not being there, Lucas Hernandez not being there. Pavard out of form after a difficult World Cup. But it still feels odd that Bayern just looks so pedestrian.
What's going on with Nagelsmann, Raf? Come on.
Alvaro's got his hand on
Okay,
it.
he didn't touch my leg, so I
he
didn't
touched the
know.
legs. He's not.
only
He's
got two
not.
hands.
He doesn't like touching legs.
How much of an influence has Lewandowski's departure have in all this? Because sometimes he was winning many games on his own, or he was scoring at least a goal per game. So that gave Bayern a massive competitive advantage.
It's very hard to answer. I mean, they've played some really good football without him. In the Champions League, they were very strong, very efficient. In the Bundesliga, as I said, after that little blip, they, I think, had a run of 7 or 8 wins in a row. Look very, very strong. Nagelsmann has gone away from the system with no real striker, that 4-2-2-2 that he played, to playing Eric Maxim Choupo-Moting through the middle, and he's been on a fantastic run. So not many people are mentioning Lewandowski at the moment. And right now, the problem starts earlier. They're not even getting into the box. They're not really creating chances. I mean, Joshua Kimmich in midweek had to rescue Bayern with a shot from 25 meters in the last minute to even get that draw against Köln. They never really looked like scoring. And it wasn't much similar against a very good Frankfurt side, admittedly. Bayern cannot really necessarily to expect anymore, I think, to just beat Frankfurt playing at 70, 80%, because Frankfurt have become too good. But Nagelsmann, just to answer your question quickly, will be under pressure. Have you not mentioned? Oh, sorry, James. The other James.
Yeah.
Nagelsmann, to answer your question, James.
Thank you.
Will be under real pressure if they lose to Mainz in midweek. They're playing Mainz on Wednesday in the Cup. And even more so if they get knocked out by PSG. So everything will hinge on the next couple of weeks, or 5 weeks if you count the second leg. People
I
will.
think you need to count the second leg where PSG are concerned.
He just needs to touch my leg.
Correct.
That's so bad what you just said.
It is in Munich,
Yeah.
so that is a bit of an advantage. But he doesn't have a lot of credit, because last season was seen as a disappointment. Only the championship, but poor performances in the Champions League, poor performances in the German FA Cup. This year he needs to deliver, and I think there's still a few doubts whether the relationship between him and the team on a personal level is actually as strong as with some of his predecessors.
The Totally Football Show podcast is available 3 times a week, bringing you all the football news you could reasonably be expected to care about. We've got views, we've got stats, we've got analysis, we've got some of the best football writers around, and the whole thing is absolutely free. So have a listen on Spotify or Apple Podcasts or all the usual places by clicking on the link below.